Yeah, so my main topic, if I remember right, has to do with solid state and modeler amps. And really, I want to talk about like how crazy is it when we first started playing guitar? Well, let me say this: when I first started playing guitar, which was like early 2000s, like how crazy the advances have been.
Yeah.
Like solid state amps, you had that Randall, and it was great for what it was.
Yep.
I mean, it was a great amp. But now you have like, these Fender Tone Masters, solid state amp, and they sound fantastic.
Yes.
You've got modelers, which, I mean, that's changed the game completely. I just feel like everything's up in their game, and it's getting harder to find out or to hear, is this a tube amp or is this solid state modeler, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think it's getting a lot harder to hear, because it's context too. I think if you're sitting in the room with it playing it, you're gonna feel it a lot more than you're gonna hear it. First
It's
off,
all about the feel.
it's all about the feel. But if you're in a live situation, I went and saw a concert last night, and the main guitar player was playing a fractal, and I know that. But when I heard him live, I was like, man, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, so, and the band before him was playing real amps. They had them on stage. They had mics. Obviously, they were playing real amps. But I think,
Who's to say a fractal's not a real amp?
well, I mean, it kind of is, but I don't qualify it necessarily as a real amp. I would call it a modeler is what I would call it. But it's hard. I think the first ones that really kind of started breaking ground on that type of thing was probably Line 6. Whenever they come out with the spiders, as much as we
Or
want
the
to like
little
them or not
pod.
like them, in the pod, they both kind of came out the similar times. I think those were the first ones that's like, this is this certain amp, and it was modeling it not great, but as well as they could at the time. It was really good. And I don't think people have advanced solid state amps any further.
Currently?
Yeah, I feel like
The Tone Master.
well, the Tone Master, but it's almost like modeling just one amp. Like
Yeah.
I know that's solid state, but they're working. It's not like, that Randall amp or like the old Marshall MG series that were just solid state Marshall amps. I don't think that they're trying to push that any further. They're spending all their cash on these modelers now, trying to get all these, like the Marshall Code series where it's got 1,000,000 presets and you got to download your phone.
Yeah.
I would like to see them work on just straight up like solid state or even like valve state where they have a valve preamp
Right.
with a solid state power amp.
Right.
I think they're putting all their eggs in the one basket, and I think they could make a lot of advances just in that.
Where would you put, just curious because we're talking about it now, where would you put the Boss Katana and all that? Because I feel like, talk about a Swiss Army knife,
Yeah.
and it's kind of in between those worlds. It's solid state. It's got different amps that you can choose from. But talk about a grab and go solid state amp that kicks butt.
Yeah, I think it's got a foot in both. I really do. I think it's the amp that kind of crosses both platforms because it's got certain settings. It's supposed to be like Recto, or it's supposed to be like Marshall Stack or British
A
Combo.
push Fender.
Yeah, it's obviously modeling those types of amps, but it's also got its own solid state kind of sounds that are based in there too. And it's probably the one that I mean, obviously with sales, it shows that it's
great.
it's the best at what it's doing. To be honest with you, I think. But I just wish that there were some companies out there making some more solid states or valve state things and trying to push that a little further rather than just putting everything into the digital realm.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's only so much further it feels like we can take the digital realm.
Imagine if Friedman decides to make a solid state amp for pretty cheap.
Right.
And it kicks butt.
Yeah. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I don't know, but I feel like they'd sell a lot.
They probably would. Well, they've got those little mini heads, right?
Right.
And they're solid state.
Are they solid state? I thought they were tube.
No, I think they're all solid state.
Oh, well, shows you what I know.
Or they might even, I think they've got like a digital reverb on some of them. They've got the Diesel one, and they've got the Bogner one, and the Friedman one. But yeah, I think there's been huge advances in the modeling stuff, and it's gotten really good whenever you look at the Quad Cortex and all this stuff, which there was recently an update for. But I just feel like for those entry-level people that are just getting into guitar, I think a really good, solid, no pun intended, solid state amp or valve state amp would go a long ways for those people.
Yeah, I think
And that's why the Katana's been so popular, I think, is because it
For
is
sure.
that straight ahead. There's no BS with it. It's the closest thing to a great, more recent, advanced solid state amp.
Right, and it's easy for bedroom volumes. You can gig with it if you need to. I mean, I feel like they've made huge headway since we started. I mean, going from the pod
Yeah.
to like, all these crazy things they got with the Line 6 stuff and Helix, and they've got oh goodness, what's the word? What's the company? Oh,
Kemper?
thank you.
Yep.
Kemper. Yeah. Like the floor effects and all that.
Yeah.
Head brush, all
It's
that
amazing.
types of stuff.
It's amazing. It's really cool what they've done. I like it. And everybody's putting something out, which is great because it drives, the market to get cheaper in some ways and get better in some ways. But I just think they've kind of left the solid state. The only people I know that's really making solid state amps that are still pretty popular, not including the Katana, is Orange. They make that the Crush series.
Yeah.
And those amps, for what they are,
Yeah.
sound really good.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Orange fan, but it's one of those solid state amps I've plugged into in the past and thought, this is pretty dang good for just an inexpensive solid state amp.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's been great advances, but I think maybe we need to draw some attention away from that digital modeling world.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said for you just can't replace the feel of a tube amp.
No, you can't.
Rolling off your volume, turning it all the way up, adding gain pedals.
Yeah.
There's just no replacement for it.
You know what? I just thought of another amp too that I loved that was kind of modeling-esque and solid state at the same time. And it's another Boss product, but those cubes. Remember the Cube 60? Like the big 112 version of those? They have those micro cubes and all that stuff that I think they still make. But the Cube 60 is a 112-inch speaker and it had like 6 different models.
Right.
That thing was unbelievable.
Yeah, it had some effects on board.
Holy cow. Yeah. It was a predecessor, I guess, to the Katana, right?